History of the Isu. Winding its way through the highlands at Isu, the Njaba River makes its way in a snake-like meander through Amucha, Ekwe, Okwudor, Awo-Omama, Izombe, and ultimately empties into the Oguta lake. The Silty River has its origin in Njaba, a town in Isu local government. It's an abundant source of native chalk, and the Njaba River basin has rich oil deposits, with the oil well at Izombe, currently one of the largest in Imo State, but that of Awo-Omama is currently sealed as reserve. The legend of origin of the people has it that Chukwu created the first man out of the Njaba River, and that he and his son Isu and wife Lolo populated all the villages and towns through their children. Who are the Isu? The Isu, or Isuama as they are also known, are an insular group who inhabit the central area of Igbo between southern Anambra State and northern Imo State, Olu. They could be divided into western Isu, Osun, Isuama proper, and eastern Isuama, Mbano. Both G.I. Jones, Afibo, and Elizabeth Isichei agreed that the core area of the evolution of Igbo groups are the Nri-Awka-Olu axis and the Okigwe-Udi ridge. Afibo goes on to explain that they dispersed in waves of 9 groups. Isu just happens to be one of such groups, an insular group that remigrated and stayed back in the Igbo heartland. Under current political dispensation, it would mean that the current Olu also at Oru East, Oru West, Idato North and South, Nkwere, Nwangele, Nnewi South, parts of Ihiala, and parts of Aguata. These are the core areas of Isu settlements. G.I. Jones believes the Isu Njaba to be the source of the Isu civilization, from where they spread out to the other areas. Thus, Isu Njaba maintains the sacred priesthood of the Njaba deity to this day. Part of what is Isu homeland today included the whole lot of Anambra South. However, a southward push of the Eri people in a series of migration and population explosion forced a chain reaction such that many of the Isu moved south, leading to the dispersal of Isu to several areas where they have formed splinter communities. The southward push of the Eri groups, they settled amongst aboriginal Isu settlements with which they formed confederacies that became known as Osun. The Osun in culture and language are still Isu, but with heavy agricultural influences. They include Oru East, some towns in Ihiala local government area, Nnewi South, Osu, and parts of Olu. This attested by the fact that there are still many settlements in southern Anambra with the suffix of Isu or Osu. The eastward expansion of the Isu came as a result of population pressure. It put the Isu into conflict or opposition with the native Agbaja people. One such example is the Isu expansion into what is known as Mbano today, led by one Elele Nwogugu, the father of the Ehime clan. They supplanted and assimilated the native Agbaja Okigwe people. Also, the Isu expansion into Etiti and what is known as Onigbo today, where they established Okwele and Omona amongst others. There were also further Isu settlements in what is Mbitoli today, Ikeduru clan, Ohuhu Mbise, and as far as Iza, Uturu, Ben the Axis, where we have Isu Kwato today, who are aboriginally known as Otanzu. In the west, some certain developments such as war with Abo-led Oru people from the banks of the Niger to migrate inland, to the result that many settled in Isu. Some of them settled in search of fishing grounds along the Njaba River. The Ndoki was part of this Oru movement. Not finding subsequent fishing grounds, They continued all the way to the Imo River and they finally settled where they live now, in Abia State, while some of them continued to Bonny Island. Some of the Oru from Oguta axis also settled in Awo-Omama, Amiri, Uli. A lot of them settled in what we know as Orodo today. The hallmark of Oru mingling with Isu is that they introduced the Owu cult into Isu. The Mawu had been the major masquerade of the Isu, but the Oru introduced Owu, which has since taken prominence. Owu amongst the Oru had 9 levels, at the highest of which is Okorisha. These institutions were borrowed in different degrees by the Isu. Owu season is celebrated every year in a series of events that culminates in the New Yam Festival. Another interesting feature of Isu culture is the sacredness of the python. It's a remarkable feature of every Isu community that the dwarf python is their mother or messenger of the river, Njaba. It is a totem that is repeated in every Isu community. Isu dialect has some unique features such as they say Okwara instead of Okpara, Obi instead of Obu or Obiri. However, Isuama is the main Central Igbo dialect on which much lexicon of Central Igbo was built. Isuama shares more deities with Nri than it does with Southern Igbo. They use a 4-day market system and the Madioha was not popular there. Concerning their relationship with Nri, I must mention one thing. Nnewi was one of the epicenter of Isu civilization and culture, hence they mention Isu in their oral tradition, albeit in a metaphoric story. However, with the downward shift of Nri people and the establishment of Nri hegemony, the Nri who were advanced in priestcraft established a royal priesthood. Nnewi used to be known as Izu Agbaja. Another factor which led to the dispersal of the Isu came into the picture. It was the Aro. The Aro were in competition with the Nri over priestly supremacy. Some faction within Isu Agbaja, with the local guild of blacksmiths, connived with the Aro and usurped the priest kingship of the Nri lineage and replaced it with a political monarchy, Ekwe, which is still in power today. A nephew of the major Isu priest was made king. I will not go into few details of Nnewi history here, but know that eventually Isu Agbaja left and the guild of blacksmiths were expelled with their leader Okwareshi, and they went and settled over lands given them by Amiibo today. They are Nkwere today. It was also during this military takeover by the Isu with Aro help that part of their group, led by Umeje, known in Nnewi as Omeji, left to find Ibuzo. The population dispersal of the Isu was partly as a result of the area which they lived in. The soil was barren and infertile, and so it did not yield a lot of crops and could not sustain a large population. So the Isu did not excel in farming. They largely engaged in trade and servitude. They traveled largely south into upland rivers, territories where they offered services as laborers, such that they were hired farmers for the people with vast tracts of arable farmland. They became known as Isuakama or Isuma for short, later corrupted to Isoma, which Owerri people or Haji, Egbema, Agwa, Eche, and Ikwere now call Isu people in general, or anybody from the hinterland. Also, being people did not live in neglected civities or proper towns, but rather settled in dispersed forested formation, the Owerri and the Aro. Also, being people did not live in neglected civities or proper towns, but rather settled in dispersed forested formation, the Owerri and the Aro people looked down on the Isu as Ndi Mohia. The Isu had a value system of wealth. They did not have elaborate title taking, but some of them adopted other institutions from Nri, especially also communities. While within Owerri, Mbise and Ikeduru, the Duru title was strictly priestly. Within Isu, it was based on wealth. The Isu had a value system of wealth. They did not have elaborate title-taking institutions, but some of them adopted other institutions from Iri, especially Osu communities. While in Owerri, Mbise and Ikeduru, the Duru title was strictly priestly. Within Isu, it was based on wealth. Thus, it was a society that made measure of men based on wealth.